There's really no easy way to begin this. I've recorded this video, I think 5 times now, until I texted Maureen, the co-founder of Long Shot Books, this morning and said, hey, how about I just make a YouTube channel? Because I can't settle on one video. Each one's been about half an hour in length, and I ramble, and it goes nowhere and everywhere at once. There's no resolution. It's probably not very entertaining to listen to. I can't bring myself to watch it, let alone ask anybody else to, so it's just an introduction to Long Shot Books LLC. Basically, Maureen and I met in college, and we'd always been interested in writing. I've been writing books since, I think I published my first 2009 or 2010, and one day I just brought it up to her. I'm like, hey, why don't we start a publishing house, because what else are we doing with our degrees, We both have decent jobs, but we're not, that makes money, but it's not fulfilling in the other way, if that makes sense. And so we've been working on it, and just waiting to start it. Mostly me dragging my own feet. I've been going through a slump the last 4 or 5 months. I'm slowly dragging myself out of, and what really prompted me to want to start a publishing house was I was submitting my own book to agents and publishers. To some extent, you're not supposed to do both. At first I wanted an agent, then I realized I don't think most agents want me, and then I thought the same thing about a publishing house. And I still would love either, of course, but it just doesn't seem very likely at this point. I don't have enough time and energy to put into it. But what was unfortunate was, I like a lot of the agents. They seem cool, they seem nice. I think they seem like good people for the most part, but it felt like there was this, I hate these terms like glass ceiling. I don't mean that in a legal sense. I don't mean that in a discriminatory sense of like race or whatever, sex, I don't know. But there's a certain standard, maybe classism involved, where you're supposed to act a certain way, you're supposed to be a certain kind of person. And I felt very much like a square peg, which is odd as someone who's been writing as long as I have, to feel so uncomfortable in the midst of writers, because it's very cliquish. I think it's actually, the thought crossed my mind today that publishing really isn't very different than Heathers, like the movie with Winona Ryder and Christian Slater. That's how a lot of agents and authors and publishers behave that I've seen. And it's really, I'm going to get in that another video, but I wanted to start a publishing house where it doesn't matter, because a lot of the books that I really like, a lot of my favorite books that got me into writing or got me to write a certain way or interested in things I never would have considered otherwise, probably wouldn't be published today. A lot of those authors wouldn't be successful today. Things like Clive Barker, I think you'd have a much harder time. I think Charles Bukowski would have a much harder time. I don't think Marquis de Sade would even have a chance. What's his name? John Sacker von Massix or whatever, the Innocent First guy. Oscar Wilde might have a chance, maybe, because of the gay thing. I don't know. But what I'm getting at is that I just wanted to fill a niche in the publishing community, whatever you want to call it, because I felt like there is a huge blind spot there. And one of the first things we discussed immediately was that I wanted to do a contest for the publication because it makes sense financially, and also because I wanted to be double blind. I see it in academia, and I think it's very smart, like double blind peer review kind of stuff. I've never seen it in fiction, which shocks me. Actually, I have seen that in fiction. One of my good friends, who I rarely ever talk to because I don't really have good friends. I have friends, somebody I really look up to has helped me out a lot when I first started writing. She does that when she puts together anthologies for submissions, and I've really liked that idea and thought I'd like to do that with manuscripts, because I don't want to know who you are. I don't care if you're a man or woman or gay or black or Democrat, Republican, rich or poor. That doesn't matter to me at all. I don't really support those kinds of people in the sense that I don't support people for what they are. I support them as what they do. Your ideas matter to me, not your circumstances of life, so to speak. And I think that's the best way to do it, because I see so many publishers that are almost solely interested in those things, it feels like sometimes. I feel so put off by it, and I have to imagine I'm not the only author who hasn't submitted to publishers because it's like, oh, I'm just not welcome here. You know? I'm underdressed for the occasion, is how I often feel when I go to a publisher's website submissions page. And it's tough because I've been publishing books for, like I said, about 10 years almost, and I'm not successful. I'm not even remotely successful. I mean, it's actually incredible how well I've floundered, how many readers I've lost and yet failed to have gained, including most people in my life who know me won't read my books, and that's okay. That's my circumstances, and I hope that I won't be judged in the way that I don't want to judge authors. And Maureen's actually very successful, and she's very clever, and she's going to be the one that'll make it work, and I'll probably be the one holding it back the whole time, kind of like Renaissance Man was or something. But I really do think that what we have to offer, we don't have money, we don't have a name, but we do care genuinely about books and helping people, helping authors. And I'm not saying as in like, oh, we're good people, we're saving the world. That's a big thing I discussed when we first started. I was like, listen, there's so many publishers that act like they're, I don't know, like Malcolm X or something, because they're publishing books. And that if they feel that way, that's one thing. I'm not gonna pretend. I mean, if we publish a book that we think's important, that's on the author. This isn't a charity. I mean, it's a business to some extent, but it's not. We're just goofballs trying to print books. That's all. And I think that kind of self-awareness is much needed in publishing right now. I think everybody has the answers. I think everybody wants to point fingers. I think there's a lot of tension right now that's not being directly addressed. Or maybe it's just kind of a one-sided argument, it feels like sometimes. And I don't want to contribute to that. I don't want to do anything that will make somebody's opinion of the world sour. There's a quote I like from Mike Stokloska. I like when movies make me not want to die. Something like that, he said. And that's really how I feel with books. I don't like when a book... I don't think I've even read a book, for the most part, a good book, that's made me feel worse about the world. Even the scary books, even the sad books, I feel better about the world. I love the movie Dear Zachary. Every time I watch it, I'm astounded by how good people are. Even though people focus on the negative things, my favorite part of the movie is there's so many good people in the movie that it's really inspirational. And how much people can go through and survive. I'm not comparing that to us, of course. We're nothing like that. We just people with a common interest, and we want to celebrate that. We want to be a celebration of literature, and that's okay if it's a weird book, if it's not completely marketable, if it's not normal. I think really like Square Peg Publishing is probably a name that I'm shocked wasn't thrown around. I just spit on the camera. Oh boy. Anyhow, that's what it is. I mean, we feel like there's a lot of books that aren't being published that deserve to be published, and hopefully we'll help a few slip through the cracks. Hopefully we'll get a few authors readerships or a foot in the door, and they can continue publishing with us if they want, or move on, build a relationship with us. I mean, we just want to help people do things they enjoy. We want to support authors. We want to support good art, and that's it. It's very simple. So that's the first video. It's an introduction. It's pretty weak. I don't like it. I might not even watch it before I edit it, but I'll probably will, just so I can say, oh, I at least edited it. Even though I ran it through a Windows Movie Maker once and then transferred the video to YouTube. So that's what it is.